tragic accident.
How'd this happen? Get him out!
I just wish it were me in that car.
Tears two friends apart.
I'm so sorry. I never meant...
Now Jared will put his life on the line to bring them back together.
Don't lose the people that you love.
All new Pretender, 9, 8 Central, NBC tonight. Then, a killer who thinks he was switched at birth.
We have 22 minutes.
A race against time for the Profiler.
It's not my fault!
Profiler, NBC tonight.
Looking for a thrill on Saturday night? The NBC Saturday Trilogy is back.
The Pretender. I can protect you.
Jared's a bodyguard to reunite a federal agent with her missing daughter.
Profiler.
The Profiler's the target of a rapist.
You're the girl who broke his heart.
And Saturday's newest hit, The Others. Pretender, Profiler, and the newest hit, The Others. The return of the NBC Saturday Trilogy.
Coming from all areas of the globe, I can welcome Antoinette and Daniela. How are you both?
We're good, thanks. How are you?
Well, the sky hasn't imploded yet, so I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yes. Daniela is probably sleepy though, aren't you?
No, actually not.
Oh, she's a night owl, just like Jared. Perfect.
Oh yeah. And Miss Parker never sleeps either, so
well, even better.
Well, but she's usually drunk, so I don't know if that counts.
Jeez. Oh man. So we are talking about two cult shows that ran from 1996 to 2000 on NBC from Fox TV. They are The Pretender and Profiler. And so the first show was basically The Fugitive, but the guy with all this super smart intelligence and bioengineered technology, and the other was basically an uncanny kind of federal agents going after, anything that concerns the alcohol, tobacco bureau. Yes. And so how did either of you get into either show? Because I heard about them for the longest time, but that you could not find the DVDs. Like, they sold out fast. So the time you wanted to buy the DVDs, they were all like $40 a piece. And
oh my goodness, wow! Daniel, you want to go first?
Okay, I just watched it on TV. It was on TV. In Italy, it played on Sunday evening at about 6-ish, and I watched it once.
In what part of the globe?
Italy.
Italy. Okay, nice. So yeah, so, we all met in the Pretender group, and it seems to have a huge audience in France for whatever reason.
Yes,
it's very replayed there.
Yeah, but I really watched it on the first run. Actually, it was it was in his first run ever. Because it was 1997, and Italy is always lagging 1 year because they have to dub it.
Oh,
so
okay.
I remember watching one that I think is one of the best episodes. That it was a virus among us. That is the 7th episode of season 1. I remember I was packing to go to university. That I attended university in another city, but was coming home for the weekend. And before catching my train, I just turned on the TV, and there it was. And I kind of watched it, and it was amazing. I mean, for back then, it was 1997. So, okay, there was X-Files already and some other very good TV shows, but or Twin Peaks or something like that. But most of the things that I was used to watch were just very procedural. So this one had a very good characters that had the very good characterization. So the main plot of the episode was kind of overshadowed by the plot of the characters. I think that then I just fell in love with it. From then on, I just wanted to watch it. So I remember I brought with me at university my video recorder, DVR, and start recording it. So it was just love at the first sight on television. I didn't get into the fandom until 2001 because I actually didn't have a computer. I mean, I didn't have a computer that was mine at university. In my dormitory, there wasn't one. So really cool. I started using the computer when I was writing my dissertation, my final dissertation in 2001, between 2001 and 2002. And I discovered the online community. So I went in, I knew the online fandom and whatever there was between it. But before it was
GeoCities and then here on Facebook, that.
Yeah, it was Yahoo Messenger, MSN Messenger, Yahoo Groups. The first thing I found was an Italian group that was a Yahoo group. Then I found the Yahoo group, the international Yahoo groups, and I discovered fan fiction. And so it's
there's so many fan fiction sites on this. And again, like in the States here, like definitely early 2000s, Profiler was definitely on Court TV. Now it's True TV, and it's totally changed its programming to be kind of like it's part of Turner Broadcasting, TNT, TBS, and they totally. Now it plays on Start TV, which basically kind of is like a sub channel that airs like in between the antenna channels and the cable channels, and they play reruns of everything else that's kind of female procedural oriented, like The Closer and Crossing Jordan. And for the longest time, I had no idea that both these shows were in the same universe. Like I never caught any of the crossovers till much later. The Pretender is currently re-airing on H&I, Heroes and Icons. And
they have a very different atmosphere. I think that they did a crossover only because in the original programming there were they were airing Pretender, and then right after they were airing Profiler, because the general atmosphere is completely different. The themes are completely different.
There's no shared crew or anything. It's just so wild.
They just did. I think it was really like they are back to back. Let's try to mix a little bit the audiences.
Absolutely, because, they were on the same night, and they just wanted to share it. And they're both owned by Fox TV, so they could do it legally. But like you say, it's like Craig Van Sickle created the Profiler. He's kind of been off the radars. He sold a few scripts to the similar show 24, and it had a lot of the same cinematographers and directors, so that was cool. But Profiler for the longest time, it just kind of vanished. I guess everyone, because they changed up the lead, they forgot it was still on. But to me, it was an eye-opener because it had Julian McMahon, the TV actor who was later on Charmed and Nip Tuck, and was now on the first few seasons of FBI Most Wanted. So it was cool to see him kind of get his start kind of as a tough guy on here. And then, Pretender was kind of funny because years later, Jeffrey Donovan, then unknown, before he was Michael Weston on Burn Notice, he kind of got his start as the younger brother on that show. And he invited the main lead who played Jared on the Pretender to be on his show, Burn Notice. And so that was kind of a fun wink, wink, see where it all began. But Michael T. Weiss, who played Jared, it's just so wild. He's done so many voiceovers for Justice League and what have you. He's big on the theater scene, but you very rarely see him in as many movies. But yet people go around everywhere and they're like, hey, aren't you're the Pretender?
Okay.
And
Well, good.
but yeah, H&I did a good job because that those shows were shot in full screen, so you often see a lot of bars on the on the side.
Oh, yeah, it's because of the format is different.
Yeah. So it's like they've zoomed in on it, so it looks more widescreen presentation. So that's cool. But yeah, like you guys said, it kind of both shows kind of follow the same kind of pattern. They're slow in the first season, they get going second and third season, and then season 4, they're all trying to wrap everything up. And then The Pretender unexpectedly got canceled, so then they started showing reruns on TNT a few years later, and then created 2 TV movies to kind of wrap up most of the loose ends. But
no, they didn't. No.
They didn't wrap anything up. That's for
no,
sure.
they didn't. They were basically
Waste
that's
of
what's
time.
left over, so that's what we got. But yeah, I don't regret my experience with either one. This has been very eye-illuminating. I see some people who occasionally on the internet will say, like, they'll be asked, what is your favorite, like, kind of cult underground kind of show that no one talks about anymore? And I will see Pretender get mentioned every once in a while.
Okay.
No, but I mean, I watched both Profiler and Pretender without knowing that they were connected. I started watching Profiler for a quite embarrassing reason, because the 2 main actors were actually former soap operas actors.
This is so true. Ali Walker, everyone goes, oh,
and
she's
also
from Universal Soldier.
And there was also a Castillo, something like that, one of the policemen that was with her for some time, that was also from
A. Martinez.
From Santa Barbara or something like that.
That was and what's funny is
I think
you're totally right, because that was my mother's favorite growing up. So she'd be like, whatever happened. She'd be like, what happened to A. Martinez? And I'm like, well, he's been in everything. And guess what? They're both on Longmire. You can't tell me none of them picked each other's name out of the hat and said, get my best friend.
He was on Castle as well, actually. Cruise.
No, it's just, and I wasn't even watching Santa Barbara, but I remember that Santa Barbara was on in the morning, and I was often sick as a kid. So
you knew it was on, but you weren't watching.
Yeah. So when I was sick, I was channel surfing and watching it. So when something like 10 years later, I turned on Profiler and I was like, okay, I remember those faces. I never really watched Santa Barbara. I didn't know anything about the show, but I did remember the faces. And when in
so you're like me, you're looking at the digital TV guys and you know what's on, but you're like, I'm not making time for that, but I know kind of all about it. You're an unofficial TV guide without knowing you're a TV guide. That's because everything is all over.
But with soap operas, it's really easy because they had those newspapers with the recaps, so you don't really need to watch it to know about it.
That's true.
And they're never going to release them on DVDs, so you're good. They're built for.
But there is YouTube, so if you want, because I spent the last 2 nights rewatching Guiding Light. And so there is a lot of YouTube. If you want to rewatch anything about soap operas, go on YouTube and you can rewatch them on. Don't ask.
Someone has been fortunate enough to help out. That's cool. So I think Profiler's issue, and I don't mean to take this away from it at all, is that it was going against it was kind of just left over from, like, every other summer there'd be a new procedural, because it's like, first you had, in the 80s, shows like Hill Street Blues. Then the 90s, you got NYPD Blue, Millennium, X-Files, and it just even Homicide, Life on the Street. And it just, everyone's trying to, do something that's kind of an answer to, like, Law and Order, where it's like, you don't have to see every episode, but you'll syndicate, like, a recurring storyline for the main character arc, and then have a standalone mystery or action-packed manhunt to go along with it. And it was odd because what's funny is it had some of the same crew members as Millennium, which, dealt with Lance Henriksen playing a psychic going after dangerous serial killers. And so what's so funny is at times many viewers mistook Sam on Profiler as being a psychic, and it's like, no, she's just very smart. She's putting herself in each other's shoes. So it's the same thing with Crossing Jordan.
People nuanced for people to understand the difference.
People would come in the middle of an episode and be like, oh, she's is like, all she's doing is picturing herself in everyone's location. It was just so funny though, because it would deal with grim material, but it is the most tamest out of all of these. Like, people get shot, but never graphically, and then, well,
that's a relief.
Sexual tension. Yeah, everything now is almost like
I think it was aimed to another kind of audience, even if it was a lot grimmer than, for example, also The Pretender. For example, I noticed that in the crossovers, the storyline in The Pretender, it always had kind of light-hearted ending.
Yeah,
absolutely turned upside down in the second part. I remember the one about the kidnapping. I do not recall it very well, but I remember there was in the Pretender part, there was a child. It was taken away, and in the end, Gerald saves the day. The child is reunited with the parents. Everything is nice and peachy, and happily ever after, and whatever. And that's how I finished it. When I read about the crossovers and I watched it, the crossover was turning everything upside down. I think there was something wrong with the father. I mean, the father did something that caused the person to kidnap the child. So
something like that. It was like one of 3 different crossovers they did, and they had to kind of remind each other about each other's style, because, like, again, like, Profiler wasn't going to show anything graphic, but was going to be occasionally like intense, while Pretender was kind of a bloodless X-Files. It was trying to do that whole conspiracy. And remember, kids, I'm always going to be on the run after I get back and solve the mystery. I'm going to be back to doing my thing. One is like, of course, everyone is it's so funny. You lose track of how many times the old man and Miss Parker are going to say, damn it, Jared's gone away. I'm like, yeah, of course he's gone away. That's just what he's good at.
But it was actually the best part of it. Nobody really cared about the episode plot. I mean,
true.
I mean, you were like, okay, let's get over with it. Okay, Jerry is smart. We got that. It's like super able to do it.
There's some occasional risque stuff on here, but it's never like.
But the point is really. But you don't care. You just really don't care. That it was more of a, I don't know, comedy show, because it was all about the prank.
It kind of was. It was almost a comic book show with some comedy. It's just
it was. Well, Gerald is a superhero. Gerald is he knows he is able to do everything. He's super intelligent. So it was really, I think that it has quite a lot of the comic book style. In Bazooka Gerald, he draws a comic from the comic that you were finding on the bubblegum, and it sums up the series very well.
It's funny you mentioned bubblegum. He kind of was a MacGyver in a way, where he would just he'd make tools out of nothing. Like, he barely, like, by the time he holds a gun, it's like a season 1 or 2 finale, but even then, he's just like causing an explosion and going on the run. He's not.
He is always the one, but and it does seem that are like superhero like Superman that gets that Clark Kent and turns into Superman, and nobody ever sees him changing. Yes, and exactly. It was the same. Because he was there and then he wasn't anymore, and where's Gerald gone? And who knows? Oh, does Gerald know that? Oh, did Gerald get out of the center? Nobody knows. So he had this kind of superhero aura that was completely different from the themes that were in Profiler. Profiler was depicting a very smart woman that was doing a job very well, but didn't have any kind of this superhero attitude or depiction. She was she was a hero because she was heroic, and she had this very dramatic story about losing her husband. and being tormented. So her personal story was even grimmer than Gerald's one on some level, but she was completely rooted in reality. Gerald is some kind of mythical figure. He is a titan.
He kind of is, because he goes everywhere. He knows how to vanish. He knows how to reappear. He's just a very stealthy guy, and
he's a pretender.
It's almost like right, but it's almost like even X-Men in a way, where it's like they're all secret underground, since they were kids, and genetically enhanced.
It has really a mythology. There is that's why I really liked about the show. I watched them both, but I shrugged when I remember about Profiler, and Pretender is still my favorite show. When somebody asks me what's your favorite show, I say Pretender. Then it's like popcorn. So I know that the value is very low, and it has, there are so many other things that are a lot better, but it stays my favorite because it was so funny. It was funny. It was fun. And the characters were so charming. Jared was wonderful.
And the Patrick Bacot who played, the older man, he's basically the unofficial dad, basically, and it's just so wild how, Miss Parker
and Bruce and Mr. Raines, that was this gloomy,
creepy.
The creepy bald guy on the oxygen tank. It was wild because I've just gone through St. Elsewhere and everything, and he's one of the main patients who thinks he's like a chicken. So and I'd seen him later on, like a few episodes of 24. He's very good at just being just unusual. So even though he's almost always a villain or some bizarre person, he just has that look. He just has that aura to him. And yes, of course, like all these bad guys, he's a good person in real life, but he's very nice and charming. And it's just so funny how he just gives off that, he's like, shoot on sight, and Miss Parker's like, no, we must capture him. So it's just so funny having that counter.
And Mr. Light, that is a cannibal and everything. So it's
able to do it, have fun with it without making it be formulaic, repetitive even. And it's even funnier how once a season, Jared is going to infiltrate their lair, and even having former James Bond actor George Lazenby as Jared's spy dad, that was so inspired. That was so hysterical even, because he was having a lot of fun. He's like, see, I used to be a spy, hardy har har, and I can get you in, I can get you out. But you just got to start the explosion, or infiltrate and find the kidnapped person, and then I'll get us out.
I didn't even know that, actually. I did not know that about George Lazenby, but that makes sense.
He was a model, and he kind of went off the grid for a while, but he just could never get away from the one-time James Bond portrayal, and so it was just so funny how
he is the only James Bond that got married, by the way. That's probably why he's at the start of this movie, his wife gets killed. Well, I actually when I saw him, I laughed my ass off, because it was actually in all the Emmanuel movies. He was the guy on the plane that was talking to Emmanuel.
Now I know what you like to watch. I'm just kidding.
No, I was left alone. I was sick a lot when I was a child. So I was home alone with the TV for a long time.
Italy, they don't got no censorship.
No, we don't. And I always been very insomniac. So my mother was falling asleep, leaving the remote controller in my hands. So it's not actually you watch this stuff, because it was really, Emmanuel was really unwatchable from a woman point of view. But it was fun. It was really fun. And I remember, I was like, oh my God, that's the guy for Emmanuel. So I'm not really a James Bond kind of girl. I didn't know about.
Secretly, she enjoyed it. I'm just kidding.
One thing, when I enjoy something, something naughty, I say that. I say about that. For example, I don't enjoy 50 Shades of Grey, because you can find a lot better on the internet.
Because it's not in on the joke. And when it's
You
got a
want to-
bigger budget, you expect better quality, and it don't got no quality.
Yeah, and really, you want to read very good porn, I can give you some pretender fan fiction with sadomaso stuff that is a lot better.
Oh my
Really,
god.
yeah, ask me.
Okay, Daniel.
Or we can go for that. If Antoinette, if you're interested, I have also Once Upon a Time stuff with sadomaso stuff that is
I love
a
how
lot,
you just
lot.
briefly glossed over that.
Yeah, speaking of, let's
I
go
got
to
nothing.
Cold Dick, right? The only Pretender episode that had, like, you know, really risque elements. Well, mostly risque
Oh,
elements.
that one episode where they're like in
Cold
Vegas
Dick,
and
right?
he's imagining like him with the bad
Yeah.
guy. And
That was
Miss Parker,
like-
where the hell did that come from? I was just like,
that is totally Steven and Craig. I'm sure it's like their crazy twisted minds. I can only assume that it's
that's the one moment where basically parents got to tell their kids, hey, who are watching this with them, how about you go outside, get some ice cream real
Yeah.
fast?
Oh, look up at the ceiling, right? For the whole episode.
Because it's like, it's
Yeah, but-
weird. These shows were shown in like pride time, like after like 8 or 9, but never to the point where they're like,
Yeah.
oh, we're very concerned. It's like, it's at
Yeah.
the point where it's almost kind of like the Dead Zone with Anthony Michael Hall, where it's like, okay, it might get intense, but it's also done in a way where you know they're going to avert any disasters. So it's not
exactly.
scary.
So it's not scary, exactly. But this
And
one was
the riskiness, it was one of those, I'm like, I don't know. They fortunately go to commercial breaks, so then you get to clear your brain. You're like, I don't know what I saw there, but I'll just pretend I didn't see that. And it's so funny. The younger, like, half brother of Jared, he was in Austin Powers as like one of the henchmen.
Oh, he was.
And so
Okay.
I just find it so funny. I'm watching this show, and I'm just trying to stop myself from laughing because I just know what the actor's from. It's nothing against the actor. I'm not saying he's a bad actor or anything. It's one of those, because when you know someone for a better known role, you're trying to not make jokes. It's kind of like the whole William Shatner and Star Trek thing. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to take it serious. It's just, I know you so much for the cult geekdom role. I'm just trying to force myself to not laugh because I just know you so much from that better known role. So, but
Well, it was a hilarious episode, I must say. Daniela, what did you think of it?
Sorry, I
Cold Dick.
haven't heard.
What did you think of Cold Dick? I thought it was hilarious, but I mean,
I
I mean,
think that
the
it
noir
was-
kind of voiceovers do kind of reinforce that too, because like
But
Jared is
it's-
just a goofball, so he's reminding you to laugh.
they are having fun. I think this is really part
Yes.
of the Pretender. That
Yeah.
what I say, the Pretender show was 70% about fun.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it made sense in that level. It was again a comic show. There's something you can see in a
It
comic.
was never
there's something-
depressing, despite all this perilous material. It was never.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that you always had Miss Parker stuck on a
So
floor
wild.
with,
So was it there?
So-
Just was the character already named Miss Parker, or did they just say, "Hey, the actress"?
No,
is
it
Andrea
was
Parker"?
it was already named. So she came into them saying, "Look, my name is all over the script." That's exactly what she said, you know. So they
Oh, that's
hired
amazing.
her.
So
and
she's
every-
just awesome. I had seen her in a few sitcoms. She was on Jag, and
Yeah, she was
like many of these actors, they often, you look at their credits, that almost all of them have like just guest starred on like a CSI episode or a soap opera. But it was interesting how like she's doing all these conventions, and it's like everyone's just saying Miss Parker. So it's like
Yeah,
the character is as
And
much
she-
her as she is the character. So
yeah, she turned off afterwards. She turned off. She refused to play a similar character because she didn't want
Oh,
to
she
be
turned
typecasted.
down what?
But
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That makes
she
sense.
turned down. I'm sorry, but,
Yeah.
but
when you made enough money,
she-
also in the industry, is like you get the right to
well,
choose roles.
but I think that she wanted to try. Then she did less than perfect. She did
Yeah.
Pretty Little Liars, but she
Yeah.
never equaled the success she had with
And
Pretender.
that's okay. She's left us with 2 free different awesome characters on primetime TV. So she's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's-
Kind of like on Profiler, like everyone already knew who Robert Davi was. He was Special Agent Johnson in Die Hard and some of his Maniac cop movies. So he's still Mr. B movie. And occasionally when he's not on Twitter praising Donald Trump, he's often on some other shitfest, but that's okay. I like him as an actor despite his crazy batshit politics.
Yes, but actually what I can say that the Pretender actors looks like they are really good people. For example, Michael T. Weiss is really into environmental stuff.
Yes,
Andrea Parker is really into charities, so they seem like good people. So you don't
Patrick Bocow, who was also one of the bad guys in one of the worst James Bond movies, A View to a Kill, you know, he did so good as the old man, and people just come up to him, and it's so funny. Whenever I see Jared, I almost want to imitate his interpretation. Jared, you know? he has that look to him, and I like how other people are discovering some of his other roles. He's like a gangster trafficking women and supporting terrorists in season 5 of 24. He's also in Panic Room as the dad who like also created the title room, you know. And so he's just another bit part actor who's been in all these international productions, Germany, France, and what have you.
Yes, he was also in some Italian movies. I think he's able to speak Italian as well. He's he can speak lots of languages. I seen him in some. I don't recall which one they were, but and one thing that I always find it funny is that he's in season 1 of Dr. House, playing a very, very bad father that doesn't really is a Chase father.
Wow.
I didn't see
he clearly doesn't care about Chase. Yes, he's only one episode.
Oh yes, no, I did. I saw it. I remember.
And it's just so wild that you want to like him, but he's played so many villains, and you're not sure you trust him on this show, but you do end up kind of liking him because he will always find a way to turn the tables on the bad organization and find a way for him to escape, and he can always have plausible deniability. He's like, I wasn't in the room.
Exactly.
It's actually, I think Sydney is one of the most complex characters because he loves Gerald. He's doing anything that to protect Gerald, but in the end, he stays in the center. I mean, it's like I think that's what I think. What I like about the character in the center, both Bruce, Miss Parker, and Sydney, that they are basically good human beings, but they never find the strength to leave the center.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They and that's good because I mean that's probably one of the first time in television in which you see one of the main characters that is inherently flawed. Before the main characters were perfect. I mean, you were supposed to sympathize with them. They were always doing the right thing, always making the right choice. If they were doing something bad, it was just in a very special episode, and then at the end of this episode, everything was fixed. But
in a way where you knew there was going to be some other surprise. So, like you say, is like it just always had just a different kind of twist each episode. And you mentioned Twin Peaks. Fun fact: Teresa from the Twin Peaks movie, you know, later plays once again Bridget. The gal who's kind of trying to take advantage of Mr. Parker, the dad who runs the facility.
Yeah,
and she was a go-to kind of B-movie actress, and she apparently died back in 2018. She was only 52, which is very sad.
Very young, yeah.
I remember about that. And but all these characters, I think now in modern television, all the characters are well-rounded, so they have good sides and bad sides. But in
just the fact that they warn you, they say, is like, he can master any skill. Just give him literally a few minutes. But there would always be a surprise for him. So you never said, hey, he's just going to get away. There's no suspense that he's invincible. It's like, no, he's not invincible. He can die. He can get injured.
So it was a start. And I think that Pretender had very good ideas, but maybe they weren't developed in a proper way. But I think that Pretenders paved the way to many of the TV shows that we see now. The ideas that were there.
I'm sure someone up there was saying, hey, be like this show, be that show. And they probably said, you know, to the studio heads, duly noted. Yeah, we're going to be similar. We'll give you similar ratings, but we're going to do what we want.
So it's I don't know. I think that doing the Pretender now, they were for what was it, 5 or 6 years ago, the writers wanted to make a reboot of Pretender.
Yeah. Maybe they could do a Zoom reunion, like do a read through or whatever.
Yes, they could. Like,
Mr. Parker is dead.
And the only Zooms that haven't turned out well have often been the live, comedy events. It's just very hard to do and translate it because there's sometimes a delay. So, I mean, they did it with Deep Space Nine
reading or something.
Oh yeah, there you go. They could do a refurbished version of a pilot script, and then they could maybe do just like other unproduced stuff, and then just retool it a bit. Just say, hey, this is the ending. This is how it ends for all you guys.
But the point is that at the moment it wouldn't work anymore. I mean, it's not. It's made its time. Gerald's skills were exceptional in 1997 when there was no internet. Like right now, the story of Gerald wouldn't work that well. It was really, I think it was, the Pretender was a product of its time. It's, I don't think that some at 60 something or something or of a similar age could be impressed with Gerald. It's like old people like us.
I don't know, man. I got into it finally this year.
We're not looking to get the new fans though. We're just looking to appease the old fans like us, So I think a Zoom something could work. And of course, we have to take into account that Mr. Parker is no longer with us. So they'd have to do something without him being in it. But I think even a little effort in that respect will show the fans.
But they don't know how to end it. They have no idea how to end it. That's the point.
Yeah, I don't know if they need to end it. I don't think that they need to try and do that. Maybe they don't know how to do that. They could just do like an episode reading or something, just something for the fans.
Just show them just going to an island in a copter. Use this device. You could even just say all these years he's just been in seclusion. He could be like in an old folks home, like claiming, to be someone else entirely, and he's no one thought to look for him here. He could be in witness protection somehow with the profiler guys. I don't know.
Well, there are so many possibilities, with good writing, they could do a lot of things, but I don't even want them to make new stuff. Honestly, I just, I just like seeing all of the Pretender family. So it would be nice to have them all together, but
just do one last panel at one convention and just heavily announce it. See how many people turn out.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Things can start.
There were quite many of us back then. I remember I came into the fandom in 2002, and there was still quite a lot of people that is the whole fan fiction world that is or RPG games and everything.
There you go. That would have been a fun video game.
Daniela. They have you if they need some scripts guidelines, right, Daniela? You can give them some advice.
Well, if there's anything we've learned is that studios, they cause all this pressure, and then when people are under pressure, they come up with all this great stuff, all this great shit that we still quote and rewatch. And then when it ends, then if they miss their window of, syndicating or DVD sales, Blu-ray sales, then they especially don't know what to do then. So it's like you got to keep reminding them, what's the end game? What's the next plan? What are you doing next? Let's get on it. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's just sometimes that expediency, it causes them to sacrifice quality sometimes. And I think that's what happened with the Pretender. Because I know Daniela has a lot of stories about the holes in the Pretender.
I think that mostly is that they keep on going on until they have an audience, and so they don't finish it until there is an audience, and then they lose the audience and they wrap it up very quickly. That's the problem with a lot of TV shows. I think House MD is one of those. They kept it on running until anybody was watching it, and then they just finish it, and then what Lisa Edelstein left, and some of the half of the original cast member left, and they kept on spinning the things, and then it ended really badly, and nobody cared anymore. And
well,
that's
the funny thing is though, the Pretender. I have to say this because like a lot of people don't know it. The Pretender pilot tested higher than ER, right? So it's like already had its audience from the very start almost. I mean, maybe it wasn't a big audience at the start, but it did really well. And that's why that's why I got to stay on air for so long. It's just that somewhere along the line of those 4 seasons, things kind of got sort of twisted and complicated, and I think
it's just that they wanted to go on. They were supposed to wrap it up. That it wasn't meant to last this long,
maybe.
And they kept on adding.
How dare you?
Yeah, they kept on adding characters, messing up the continuity. Is that the word?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're messing up the continuity because they wanted to go on, and they kind of changed some of the main themes of the show. For example, I love the Android with the scrolls, and all the metaphysical stuff. It's as little to do with the rest. It's fun. I kind of like it. You can kind of work it into the shows. But for example, Miss Parker Paternity, they kept on changing their mind about who his father was. I mean,
just wrong.
One boy toy or gal toy guy who she kind of has a crush on. That subplot goes nowhere in the final season, but I just love how every once in a while the right hands, played by Sam Myers and Willie Gault, the sweepers kind of get more to do after a while, like get punched by Jared, or is like sometimes when Jared is escaping, half the time it's at the same time as some other kind of lockdown, or there's a hostage scenario on that coincidental same hospital or building. So it's even more funny. He's having to delay his escape, even though he is going to find another way somehow through the police blockade and the government agents trying to find him. But I find both this and Profiler do have some very fun guest stars before they were better known character actors. All together,
the Phantom Menace, the young actor Jake Lloyd.
Young Anakin Skywalker.
But they have a lot of child stars there, so it's something. Pretender is really fun to rewatch.
Compared to other shows where it's just like, because like 4 years the writing crew didn't change anything, and you see so many other shows where the casting crew is changing up so much that they try too many different styles, so then you're just like, what am I watching now? It's just a cluster of too many good and bad ideas, and they pretty much, like you say, they had to just keep retooling it a bit, but not in a way to where you're just like, I've totally nuked the fridge on this. I have exhausted all my options to where there's nothing interesting to tell. And that's more than I can say than so many other shows, because like there's so many other shows we'll watch and we're like, why did I get into this? It was just so different those first 3 seasons, and then by the time it really grabbed an audience, it got spoiled with all the award wins or attention. And half the time people will just do a copy and paste, and I get it. They got, it's even more crazy now because the pilot is never filmed alongside all the other episodes. Once you get picked up, then
you film,
and then if you're doing the same thing in and out, and everyone's shooting quick, and then you got to work with all the endless actors who, by the time they've captured the audience, they're already done with it. They're tired of playing the role, unfortunately, which sucks, because why not just say yes to financial security, playing the same role for 5 to 10 years? But I get it. There are other times where everyone's like, I want to go back. I got to play on Broadway. I got 2 other movie gigs. I got a better show coming along.
Things are a lot different now in terms of those.
Right. And this was just a casual, like, you look at the ads here that were playing on NBC at the time, and they were playing it up. There's like, hey, this is a fun sci-fi mystery escapade show.
Mm-hmm.
And, a Profiler is just like, you want something that's not one of the other shows, but just kind of comfort food. that'll suffice. And then, Pretender is just going to kind of make you just say, this is garbanzo beans, but this is fun. This is a party I don't want to have end. It's kind of just, it's kind of like when you're at a VIP party, but it's not for any kind of VIP. It's kind of more just like, this is just not at all what I expected. And because it's a pleasant surprise, I want to stay here even longer.
Yeah. And still, you can watch it over and over and still, enjoy it, even though you know the lines that are coming up.
Because it's fun.
Even if there's an episode you don't care for, it still makes way better use of the whole thing. I can't think of any episode where I was just like, the A plot worked, but the B plot didn't work. It's like, no, the whole thing comes together. It's just fun. Light, casual show. And the fact that it came out in the era of X-Files and even something campy like Nash Bridges, where it's like, just do something fun for an hour on TV.
And I think I really like the B plots. The way you interacted with the characters. That's something that washed off a little bit from when we reached season 3 and 4, because Jeros started to really understand the real world. But his interaction with pop culture in the first 2 seasons were just amazing, when he was asking people what it is, what it's like, and the connection he was able to make with the people he met, ordinary people, but he could really see that they were really interesting. So he was really getting an interest in those people, showing you that everybody has something to tell, something to show, something to make him understand. He was really trying to understand.
That's a good point.
Nature.
Nowadays, there's so many shows that will kind of force the whole, like, you don't understand. And then, by the time they try to make sense of the mysteries of a show, the show gets canceled. So the mysteries are going to remain unsolved, or you have all this great build up, but the reveal is just, it just doesn't add up. It's either too many cooks in the kitchen, or just all that. It did a good job of making you interested, but you just feel like it deserves such a more twisted reveal. And so this does better at just, both these shows do good at just saying, hey, we're going to lead you astray, and then we're going to surprise you. Boom. As opposed to, whoa, I can't even connect the dots. It's too convoluted, or it's just too silly. No, it's just right. It's just, it knows how to both play it safe and keep surprising you, so it doesn't feel like a cop out or like any other kind of show. So I got to congratulate both these for finding a legion of fans. And like you guys say, it's just so fun to kind of find people who have casually watched it. I had a few pals who I did movie extra work with who were obsessed with this, and they'll even say, is like, yeah, that's the great show that no one talks about. And like, that's cool, because that says a lot. Because like, again, Pretender was coming out when every other show was trying to be like The Fugitive and X-Files, and then Profiler was coming out where everybody had to have, detectives or FBI agents with special sets of skills. And, now every year I'm trying to find what producers, like Dick Wolf or Jerry Bruckheimer can surprise us with some new content. And you see other people who are just still, unfortunately, just kind of relying on the same tropes they built their career off of, not doing anything new. So it is cool to know. And I'll even say this. I think if any either creator of either show came back with a new show, they would still be willing to experiment a bit, but they'd probably do it on a cable TV now, because they have more time to, and wouldn't have to worry about getting everyone's interest right away.
Yeah, that's true. And there's so much new stuff that's just not worth your time, So it's like,
absolutely.
Go back to the Pretender, because
I give each show like 5 years now, for the most part, unless it's a very well established franchise like Star Trek or Bosch. Like, I'm not going to often sit down, because, like you say, sometimes, Netflix has reared its ugly head, for instance, by canceling everything automatically after 2 years. which is not the way to build up your audience. You gotta give them 3 more years. Pulling a Fox where you pre-cancel everything automatically just is a turn off for everybody. That's like if you come to a party but you know it's only going to last 30 minutes. It's like, well, no, I'm going to party till the roof explodes and collapses.
Otherwise, you're not coming to the party.
Not coming to the party. If it's kind of like when you try to pre-key everything. It's just like, I don't know. You might make. It's like if you were recording records, but you knew everything was already automatically placed, and you just had to fill in like the audio vocals. It's like, well, it might not add up. It might not resonate. It might be out of place. I might be out of place. If you try to. Or it's like if you tell everyone everything that's on the menu, it's like, well, I could make this food myself. I don't
exactly. That's right.
By pulling all the bunnies out of the hat right away, there is no magic trick to display. Right.
Yeah. That's one of the good things about The Pretender. That so sometimes you forget the plot lines, and then it's like. Then you as you're watching it again, you see the reveal. It makes it interesting.
And this is where
entertainment.
Totally. I see a lot of interesting guest stars on this who is like they would either be kind of low grade like B movie actors who were still reliable actors, or they'd be like from other shows like sitcoms or even a Saying Elsewhere type show. And it's just they're interesting because it's like they all are still mostly working actors, and when you go onto their profile, it's like this is like one of the first guest star titles that pops up. It's just like who wasn't on this show? It's like there's a lot of unknowns who are now bigger names. Like kudos to the casting on this one. That is for sure. Because I will even admit that I try to even seek out just occasional movies that have some of these actors in them, or even rewatch an episode, because it's like they're just extremely underrated. Like Mr. Parker. You want to know my introduction to him? He was playing Andy Richter's dad on this one sitcom. Andy Richter controls the universe or something like that. And so it's just so funny how it's like you've seen all these actors in some capacity, one way or another. Just on a sitcom or on a movies. And so I think that they're just cool beings, because it's like they're all actor's life is a tough one, working for peanuts unless you're Tom Cruise or Julia Roberts. And so you want to actually, I think they can all say they've had a fulfilled career. They have at least 1 or 2 roles that everyone remembers them from, even if they don't know their actual acting stage name. And
okay. I think Harvey Kresnel was also in a movie with Nicolas Cage. I can't remember the name of it. It was either Face Off or the other one, Con Air.
I wouldn't be surprised. Just about everybody.
I think Face Off. It was
Face Off
everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure, but it was everybody was in Dawson Creek. It was.
I've never seen that one though.
It was in Lois and Clark. He was Lois' father in Lois and Clark. I remember.
I didn't know that.
So there you go. He's used to playing the dad.
The dad, yeah.
And you say the flow dad, because also in Lois and Clark, he has a lot of things to ask for forgiveness for.
Oh, totally. I think in many ways, this show kind of even predicted the success of like other shows that kind of. Again, just the character is a fugitive, but they're not, guilty of anything. They're just an unusual government test subject or something. And then, like you say, finding those light moments and even when it's intense, like it's basically just to end the season finale and set it up for next year. And it's like, like there was one show that my entire family loved was Chuck. And I think that was another similar kind of format. It's just spy comedy, but it doesn't forget to actually just laugh and have fun with its universe, even when it was too much. So, I mean, for a while, it seemed like everything was kind of a lowbrow, like Total Recall or, like you say, Men in Black or X-Files type show, but then they would lose again. They would just have too many writers and too many bizarre happenings to where no one could keep up with it. But this was before, the market got oversaturated with like everyone has to have a rival, of each other. Yeah, like X-Files was still on at this point, and these both had decent ratings. And I think, I mean, even Frederick King Keller, went on to helm a bunch of other shows. Like he was directing this back to back with other stuff like New York Undercover, which I think is another pretty well done mystery show that a lot of people watch, but will never get a proper home media release because there was just too much music and they weren't thinking about that post syndication. So
okay.
Yeah, but for example, even the music from Pretender, the music from the episode when Tommy died, they had to change it because it was
they did. Okay.
In the DVDs, some sort of random song when it was
kind of like Miami Vice. They is like for whatever reason they couldn't negotiate with the record company, and I know there's one episode of Profiler that's even omitted from its DVD release according to Wikipedia.
Because of the music.
Yeah. It's just for whatever reason, even though some of these guys are like indie music artists, and it's like it just something came up, and if they didn't think they were going to make much money, even when DVD came out, so maybe you could get Mill Creek to help out, but even then they would just basically be transferring the DVDs to Blu-ray. It's just you can only use what you got, and it's just such a shame that it's just the case with these scenarios. And this is what I do miss about the 90s, when people would just experiment and just say, you know what, the sky's the limit. Let's just go. Let's just try it. And what's the worst that can happen, And I am just glad to know that, anytime I hear about people who talk about beginning on their shows, like Profiler had a bunch of, that's that, character actor, I know them, I know her, and Pretender was also just a fun mix that was like, I've seen so many other similar shows to this, and yet it just feels like its own, bread and butter. So I think you can honestly say they just, and again, like you guys have been to some of these fan events and everything. I have yet to hear of anyone saying, I regret my 4 years on this or that show. So I think that's just it. It's like, it didn't go on so long to where everyone's like, I was denied, perfect career opportunities. It's like, no, came and went, had my moment in the sun for 4 years, and then nothing as big afterwards. But hey, I'm some kind of TV household name, so that's cool, and I think other people, they don't get that opportunity. They either get a show that doesn't last long enough, or that lasts too long to where they're like, all right, I'll answer 5 more questions, but that's it. I got to go and audition. I shouldn't have to audition. I'm well known.
That's funny.
Oh man.
But I just have to say, for the record, I only watched Desperate Housewives because of Miss Parker. And
that's right. She was on that, wasn't it?
I only watched Less Than Perfect also because of her.
Yeah, Less Than Perfect.
I only watched Perfect Liars for the same reason, because like, although I did actually like Less Than Perfect after I saw it, but I only went there to watch it because of her,
No, I didn't. I hated it. I watched it with the volume turned off.
Oh no. Okay.
It's one of those, it had some premise, but it had also a bizarre cast, but she was good on it. So I mean, I just saw her CSI Miami episode the other day.
I went to a taping. I went to a taping, but I was like,
oh, you lucky dog,
in the audience, and I didn't. Well, I didn't try to approach her, but I saw a couple people did. But it's like, I just wanted to do that because I was in the US at the time. I was like, okay, there's this taping coming up. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna do it, and it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Nice.
Seeing her up close, it was nice. And I went to see Jared in a play, just for the record, also. And I took a picture with him.
Yeah, call him in Jared.
I know. He's Jared. Okay, he's Jared to me. Okay, I don't know.
LA is a small town for Mr. Weiss. But
sorry, Mr. Weiss.
He has a few obscure TV movies that I still need to check out. And
is it the Dark Shadows or something?
No, he had like
okay.
this one mystery from like '03 that I think went straight to Blockbuster. And then I've seen some more recent indies that were on Amazon Prime, and he had like a brief role. But even though he's hard to recognize at first with the beard and all, he's still you just wait for that shit-eating grin that Jared has, and you're just like, hey, okay, I see it now. He's having fun in this role. It's just no one else can fake that smile. That's all him.
He also has kind of a distinctive voice as well, I find.
He is basically it, and that's why he's voiced all these video games. It's like it's perfect.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. I have the Tarzan movie that he's in. That he voiced.
That's right. He was in like Disney's Tarzan, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think it was in the TV series, but not in the movie.
That's right. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There was a Tarzan and Jane movie. I have the DVD.
There you go. So he became the go-to for, because that's just it. Like he does so many impressions as the character, so that makes sense. There's some casting agent was like, hey, if you can impersonate all these 40s comedians and 70s actors, maybe I can get you on these cartoon voiceover gigs that are great.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes sense.
Well, this is like just the most positive thing on a cult show. It seems like everything else has like a unhappy ending or to where no one really knows what to make of it at all. So this is cool.
Oh, that's too bad.
So thank you all for being on here. So Daniela, what is going on in these fan groups?
But we haven't been around actually. What's the last contact with them? 7 years ago?
I'm
6 years ago.
Interesting fan art that is still kind of intriguing. And
I mean, I now I have a daughter, so I don't have the time to be on the internet that much.
No time for geekdom.
Not I know.
I haven't been in most of the groups, but I try to visit once in a while. But we're just like,
you guys did pretty good. You responded to our invite.
I'm just trying to just keep the memory alive, I suppose. And I do follow Craig on Instagram. I think Steve is on
Craig Van Sinkle, the creator. And it's so wild. It's like he was active like a few years back and now kind of radio silence. Man, he's enjoying retirement, man.
I haven't seen Miss Cocker on Instagram for a while. I think maybe her
other than those Facebook groups where like they were sharing like events, just share the photo, share the post. She's just kind of doing conventions internationally, which is kind of cool. And it's like, wow, so she gets a cool vacation out of this. But
that's cool.
I do find this wild that this is recognized internationally, but it's kind of word of mouth still in a way, as opposed to like Firefly or Stargate, where no matter how long it lasted, everyone will instantly just flock and say, I know you.
Yes. Well, I didn't know they were having conventions still, because I as I said, I haven't really been to the groups. But
and I haven't been to conventions in a while. Dallas, Texas has really disappointed me with some of their more latest ones where it's like, but is it VIP? Okay, so I don't even get to meet him for a minute.
Right.
Without clogging up the line. So it's got to be more of a one-on-one person. And I see so many other actors who I've even been fortunate enough to interview on here who I'd even admit is like, I could do a convention, but I don't really want to right now. It's just, And so it is one of those, is like, you could do it. Anyone could do it, but you could post free titles on your billboard. Someone will show up, but unfortunately, I think so many celebrities just got in trouble. Is like, they didn't want to, upcharge everyone. They wanted to have legit conversations. It's like, I can understand. And then there were other times where just like they did last minute cancellations. So basically their agent had to pay, the person to reserve the stand for them. So it's like, that it's not easy to do. And if you got a good, better acting or live entertainment event that comes along, then, what takes precedence? So
that's exactly right. Yep.
But thank you all for joining on this fun trip into fandom.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It was fun, right, Daniela?
Yeah. Yeah.
Long time coming. We were off the grid just like Jared, just back and forth, and then finally we made a breakthrough, and this was before computer hacking. This is like one of the few shows there's not much computer hacking.
Yeah.
That was like all the rage with everything else. Like there's more just people taking out pagers and saying, I'll find you.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up